Bam, right there. How's it going, guys? Token vaping. So, I was gonna actually repeat myself, and I just did. But I'm actually really excited about this one, just because I wasn't expecting it. And I came home from work, and basically I had this sitting here waiting for me. And honestly, it was a really, really nice surprise. I was going to wait and try this out for a little bit and then do the review on this. However, like I said, I've been hearing a lot of hype about this. I wanted to check this out for myself, and the fact that I'm able to do this review is a huge, huge privilege and honor. So I basically figured I'd do a first usage of something other than juice. What I'm talking about is the new IJOY Captain Sub-Ohm tank from IJOY, obviously, but this is one of the newer Sub-Ohm tanks, the heavy hitter cloud tanks that are out on the market right now by IJOY. There is also a device called the Captain, which is one of their newer box mod devices as well. But this is the Sub-Ohm tank for this, and there's a few things about it that are a little different to the tank genre. And like I said, it was just I really wanted to check this out. So this is actually the very first time that I've opened this up. I've been letting the coil juice up and saturate, but I really wanted to try this out. So I'm actually going to be using this for the very first time on camera. But this is how this comes, and you can check this out at iJoy eSig. I'm sorry, ijoysig.com. There's 4 colors available. I received the stainless steel one for this review. It does come in rainbow, gunmetal, and black. The gunmetal actually looks really, really slick. I'm a fan of that color shade just in general. It does have the authenticity code and scratch off. On the back, it does give a quick little blurb about the tank and what all comes in the tank, and I'll show you that here in a second. And then on the side here, it says this product contains nicotine, which is a highly addictive substance. When it's sealed and in the box, I'm not really sure what it contains specifically, but unfortunately nowadays this has to be added. So in the box, this is what the tank actually looks like all fully assembled. So real quick, before I show you the coolness of the new coil system, I'm going to go ahead and just show you the parts of the tank, which I did take apart. Now, I don't do a lot of the cut away fade-ins up closes, and I know a lot of people like that, and it does benefit the review itself. I try to do this all in basically one take, so bear with me. If you've seen my reviews, you know how I do it, so that's just the way that it works for me. But for the tank, you've got your base, you've got your main chimney that covers the coil, and I'll explain why that looks so different here in a second. You have your glass, obviously. There's the top part of it with the fill port, and as you can see, it's got 2 really beefy side fill port holes. And then you cut your top with your wide Delrin chuff tip. Now, there are a couple of reviews on this that have stated that you can use your goon tips on this, that it is a tight fit, but they do fit. I do have one, I just have to find it, but if I will try that out. If it does work, doesn't work, I'll put it in a post, throw it on Instagram, or I'll put it in the comment box below. But that is the 4, as a drop one, those are the 4 pieces for the tank, and then there is, of course, the coil. Now, the coil is actually what is really different and ingenious about this setup. This is one of the coils, and as you can see, it's kind of beefy. It's stout. I mean, that's the easiest way I can describe it. It's a short, medium-sized stout coil. But what makes it different is, one, it's got a flat bottom like this. That's not really a normal, common thing for coils. Plus, there's no threading on it. This is a threadless coil. That's one of their advances or changes to this tank. It basically is just a pop in and you're good to go. And for them, the connection and the conductivity of it works better. Now, the other thing with it is the chimney style that goes. This is basically what sits over the coil. As you can see right here, you basically take your coil and it just pops in, and then it stays. And then when you screw the base on, that's where the connection comes in. They do it this way with the chimney style, according to them, is that it's the heat productivity in this groove, it cuts down. There's a slight groove you can see right in between here. It cuts down on the disbursement of heat. It keeps it more condensed, so it heats up quicker, and then it heats up your juice faster, so you get better flavor, better cloud production without it taking so long to heat up, and then the tank heating up super quick. A lot of people, if you use Sub-Ohm tanks or just tanks in general, and you chain vape a lot, you realize that the tank heats up faster, but it's also, part of it is because there's so much airflow and a wider tunnel style system basically going through that, where the entire tank heats up because the heat is dispersing more instead of it just heat up in here, channel it all through, and you're good to go. So that is one benefit. It does come with two coils. One is the CA2, and this one is a 0.3. I don't know if you can really see it right there. It is a 0.3, and this one is rated between 60 to 80 watts, and it's a single tube with the wire and cotton in there. It is Canthal. I do apologize about the focusing issue. That is my fault. And it comes in this case, which is actually, the style of the case is actually becoming quite standard on a lot of tanks. But it comes in a case like this, and there's the tank, obviously. And then it comes with spare glass. And then it comes with a vape band, a 510 connector tip, so you can use smaller tips if you so prefer, and then a couple of extra seals. Pretty standard on that. There's a warranty card that's underneath the base of this as well. But the coil that I'm going to use for this demonstration is the CA8, and that is this one here. And like I said, it has been saturating. This one is rated between 60 and 120 watts, and this is basically going to be the heavier cloud hitter. As you can see, it's got 4 mini coils in there with the cotton and the wiring as well. So this is the one I'm going to be using. Now, they do state that this tank is definitely designed to work well with higher VG juices. Now, IJOY, along with the tank for review, they also sent a flavor here, Samurai Man, which is based on the Japanese ramen. There's a bunch of different ways that people pronounce it on their soda. I didn't want to bust that open, juice up the coil, let it sit, let it soak, fill up the tank, everything else. I'm going to go ahead and do a separate video review on this flavor right here, probably here within the next couple of days, just to keep it in sync with this tank. But I wanted the focus to be on the tank itself. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and use this coil, like I said, which is the 6-to-120. And in actuality, for this review, because it is a thicker, a little bit thicker of a mix, I'm going to use some Big Jugs hazelnut milk, just because I like the flavor of it. But it has a thicker consistency compared to some other liquids, so we'll see how it works in the tank. But I did a review on that flavor as well. You can check that out on my channel. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly put the side two together so it looks like this. Take the coil that has been soaking in here. Like I said, basically all you do is just pop that in the bottom, pop that in, and it stays. Go ahead, screw the base back on. Like so, and then you have all this. Now with the airflow ports closed, I'm going to go ahead and fill up the tank itself. So while I'm finishing putting it together, the juice is actually in here soaking up. And this is a 4 mil capacity tank. So for a Sub-Ohm tank, it's actually it's got a pretty decent amount of room in this. A lot of them are a little bit in smaller range. And this basically just screws right on, 2 turns, and it's on. So, and that's the tank itself with juice in that. And it's a pretty decently looking tank. I mean, it's solid, it's stout. It still has a stylish appearance to it, as you can see. You know, you've got your stainless steel metal part here and then the glass, but the way that it's put together is actually pretty solid. This is a 25 millimeter tank, and this is coming directly off of IJOYSig.com. It's 55.8 millimeters in height. So it has a gold-plated coil head production. It does protrude out, but myself personally, I don't ever use anything like this on unregulated or mech mods. That's just my personal thing. And then on the bottom part, it states that it's designed by IJOY, and then it says the captain right there. So that's the basic setup of the tank here. let me just see if there's anything specific that I want you guys, or you guys needed to know. The gold plated 510, and then it has the CA2 and the CA8 coils. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna screw this onto my device, and I figured it made sense for this review. This is the only device right now that I have that was made by IJOY. It's the Lux. It was a collaboration that they did, but so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this on here. And as you can see, the way that sits at 25, I mean, that sits pretty solid, and that looks really, really cool with the stainless matching on the top and here. So go ahead and open up the airflow, because I am an airflow person. And since this is rated at, it was 60, we'll start at 60 since I just put this coil in here, and I don't want to totally... So it's 60 watts. Right there. That's not bad at all right off the bat. I mean, and like I said, the coil's been soaking, so I definitely am getting some pretty solid flavor out of that. Cloud vapor off of that just at 60 watts is not bad. Okay, but since I don't normally vape at 60 watts, I'm going to take this up to 75, right there. Okay, now that's starting to get a bit more into the realm of where I'm comfortable with. Flavor is pretty much hitting pretty solid. Like I said, it is one that I did a review on, so I already know the flavor for that. Clouds are actually really, really hitting nice on that. I'm going to take it up to... I'm going to take it up to 85, right there. We'll see how that hits. Oh yeah, okay. So it's definitely meant to go in the bit of a... I mean, it's rated between 60 and 100, but as you go up, you definitely start noticing the flavor and the cloud production starting to hit more. That was probably 3 times the amount of flavor hit that I got off of, than I did off of 75, and you saw the cloud vapor off of that was pretty dense as well. That's pretty solid off of a tank. So it is starting to get a little warm, obviously. I mean, if you're going to chain vape it, it's going to heat up, but it's not hot. I mean, it's obviously not going to burn to the touch. Let me take this up, since, I mean, it says 100. So I'm going to take it up to 100. As in right there, 100 watts. And see what this hits like. Clouds. Flavor is amazing at that, but for me it starts to get a little bit warm of a vape. I don't normally vape up that high. For me I would probably take this at about 85-90 watts, somewhere in that range, but even in that range the flavor is purely all flavor. I mean, it's slightly warm, but not warm, and it's not hot by any means. It's definitely, you get the full flavor out of that. The cloud reduction, as you saw, was definitely worth that. I mean, off of a tank, those clouds and that flavor is amazing. It is a really solid hitting tank. I'm completely honored and privileged to have the chance to use it. It looks slick as all get out, you know, sitting on the device like this. Like I said, it's a 4 mil capacity, so it definitely is going to hold up a bit. It's going to hold up a bit. Now, depending on how high you vape it and the amount of wattage that you use, obviously, you know, it just, and how much you chain vape, it's just going to determine how fast you're going to go through the tank. But that's, I mean, that's a given with anything. Now, they do say that it is rated better for higher VG juices, so I probably wouldn't try anything lower than a 70/30. Not saying that it won't work with lower VG juices, but because it is meant to be a cloud tank, the lower VG flavors will probably have a little bit more of a harshness to them. You might get more of a throat hit. I've gotten none off of this as it is. So for this type of tank, I would probably say a 70/30 would probably be the lowest you would want to go as far as a VG if you're more into the clouds and the flavor. If you don't mind the throat hit, you know, experiment more with it, find out what works best for you, check it out that way. If you have a favorite type of juice that you prefer, it doesn't hurt to throw it in here and try it. That is really, really, really cool. The taste is just, it's solid. It honestly, at 75 on my drippers, it's hitting about the same with that. So, I mean, that in itself is pretty impressive for me. Now, quick pros and cons, in my opinion, for this. For me, it's not really a con, but I do know there are people who are getting more into them, or are into them, or definitely look for it as part of, you know, a higher wattage, heavier hitting tank. There's no building base for this. There's no RTA deck for it. It's just strictly coils. Now, that's not to say that they may not come out with one in the future. But as of currently right now that I'm aware of, and according to the website, it's strictly coils. So for some people, that's a con. For me, I do determine the difference. You know, I'm not as big of a fan of like the RTA decks in the tanks. The tank for me, I don't mind using the coil. RDTAs is where I go in more into the coil, and then obviously drippers. But for some people, that is a con. Another con, if I had to say, honestly, maybe a bigger size, a bigger tank here instead of 4 mils, you know, 5 or 6. Again, not a huge con. It's not a deal breaker. It's just a personal preference. Pro-wise, I like the way it looks. Honestly, I think it looks really cool. Some people may consider the bottom part too bulky as far as like having all metal. I would assume like the rainbow one or the gunmetal, you know, because there's more room there to show the color. It definitely pops more. So for other people, they may prefer that. I like the way it looks. I like the chuff cap. I don't think there is, as I look in there. Okay, so there's not really, that I can tell even when I took it apart, there's not a real obvious or specific spitback guard. I've gotten a little more used to those. They are becoming more involved with other like tanks and RDTAs, things like that. If there was a way to incorporate something like that, it would be nice. But again, it's not a deal breaker. It's just a personal preference. I like 4 mils is a decent amount. Again, like I said, it just depends on how much you vape. It depends on the mix ratio of your juice, of how fast it's going to burn through it. I like the fill port, or the fill option, because it's not super hard to take off. It basically unscrews pretty easily, but it is solid enough that it seals. So that's definitely a pro. The wide open fill ports on both sides of the center hole makes it a lot easier to accommodate, you know, unicorn bottles, the chubby gorillas, eyedroppers. So that's definitely a pro. Overall, I mean, it's a solid tank. There's really not a whole lot about it so far. And like I said, you guys have watched me put this together, put a coil in. You know, I still have a little bit of usage to get out of this, so I will definitely do an update video on this after a couple of weeks. And IJOY was awesome enough to send a couple of extra coils, so it'll give me an idea of how long the coils will last for me myself, which, you know, I'll put into the update video as well, just to give you guys an idea. But overall, rock solid tank, hits really nicely, flavor is immense, cloud production is really, really impressive. If you check out ijoysig.com, the price that they're offering it for is really, really economical, and it's affordable. They're charging about $30 for it. So for what it is, I mean, it's definitely a lot more affordable, especially if this is a new area for you. If you're used to drippers and you've never messed with tanks, or if you've messed with just the smaller tanks and not like some of the big heavy cloud hitters because of price, things like that, it's definitely a decent price point to jump on and give it a shot. Like I said, overall, there's not a whole lot of negative things I can say about it at this point. It's a really solid hidden tank. Flavor is really good as well. So definitely check it out. That's the Captain Sub-Ohm tank from IJOY. Definitely check them out at ijoysig.com. They're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. You can email them directly, contact them through the website as well. Definitely check them out. IJOY, thank you guys so very much. This was a huge surprise, a great privilege and opportunity. As always, guys, I'm Token Vaping. I'm here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. Anything that I myself can do to help further enhance your vaping experience, that's the only reason why I do what I do. I get enjoyment out of being able to help others. So definitely hit me up, reach out to me, let me know if there's anything in particular that you're looking for, a certain type of video, questions, comments, concerns. I will do everything in my power to answer them or make that happen for you. But until next time, no matter what, morning, noon, or night, always truly love yourself. Vape on, vape strong.